Hello friends, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel, Dr. Cholo's Vlog for Kali Exercise, where here we promote health and wellness, physical activity as a part of the general principles of healthy living. Okay, so we have gone through 10 lessons now, 10 patterns of moves for Kali. Kali, again, we differentiate it from Arnis de Mano or modern Arnis because here we mostly utilize the moves used for a sharp instrument, whether a knife or a ball. We use the stick as well for training. Okay, so we have gone through 10 lessons, 10 patterns for the basic moves, and we'll utilize it. Today we will have a lesson that's very much related to how we formulate the moves in Kali for use in combat. Okay, so stay tuned. Follow me as I do the basic moves and do my routine exercise. I've had my warm-up, and so here goes what I have to do with my exercise. Okay, welcome back. Let's continue on. If you have noticed, we have utilized three of the basic moves. We had the kurus. If you have recognized it, I hope you did. That's the kurus with two weapons. Okay, and then we had the inverted 8 or the purang walo. And then we had the plancha. Okay, kung tigbas, plancha, tigbas, plancha, tigbas, plancha, tigbas. Okay, so this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more move in each of the following of the basic strikes, and I hope you can notice that you will be seeing this very commonly on YouTube. I've discovered that this is a very common move, but anyway, let's proceed. Okay, so I'll start with this slowly. Okay, this is kurus, and I'll add one more move to this. Watch out. Okay, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. Okay, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2. Okay, let me explain the moves, okay? Okay, folks, we are in lesson 11 and I'd like to explain the moves that I've done with the knives. And this is actually lesson number 11. It's introduction to practicality of the moves that we have studied, the basic moves. Now we are getting into a prelude to having a partner and doing some techniques or strikes and a combat atmosphere, okay? We are not promoting combat and fighting, but rather we are promoting camaraderie and sportsmanship. Okay, again, we are dealing with Kali and not Arnis. Okay, I hope you can distinguish one from the other. This time, I'm going to show you as a tutorial using an Arnis stick. Okay, the Arnis stick, but mind you, I'll show you how the way we move using the stick as a bolo. Okay, now this is how it looked like. You probably will notice we started with this move. This is X, okay? You will note that this is crossing over, but just to remind you that we can do it like this, okay? We can do it one after the other, right, then left, okay, then right, then left, then right, then left, then right, then left, okay? But this time we will be crossing it over. Right crossing from the left, okay, right crossing from the left, right crossing over. And okay, you will notice that I have added one more. Okay, here it is. Okay, here is another one, so I'll do it slowly. 1, 2, 3, then go to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I hope you have noticed that this is one of the most common moves. But mind you, let me explain that we are using a grip, okay, that we use with the bolo, and the move where the wrist is steady, it doesn't move, okay, and the bolo has the action which is slicing action, okay, in both hands. Even the added move, okay, is likewise slicing in nature. Okay, so this they call redonda. Commonly they call this redonda, and I've been emphasizing that the Filipino martial arts is not Arnis de mano. It's not the modern Arnis, okay? I don't know, but I hope you understand why I'm saying this, because the Arnis de mano is 50% Spanish inspired, okay? Same is true with the modern Arnis, and you will notice that a lot of their moves are called by Spanish names, such as this one. They call this redonda, and the reason why, okay, the reason why is because of the continuous rounded motion, circling. Actually, it's not rounded, but circling, circular motion. 1, that's circle, okay. 2, that's another circle. That's 3, and 6 moves actually, which is actually continuous with smooth edges and making a 360 degrees circle in any which way, okay? And that's why I don't know how it was called redonda, but let me explain later when we get into our trivia, okay? So let me introduce to you, before we get into this, let me introduce to you using the stick, okay? Using the stick, we may either use it as an Arnis stick or as a tool acting as a bolo, okay? Now there are 3 ways we can use this to strike. Commonly, let me introduce to you the move, okay? The first move was this one. The first move was this one. Actually, This is the first move, okay? And then it goes here, and then there's another move in the same angle, the same area, okay? One, it goes there. Two, it goes here, and the third one goes the opposite way, and it goes here, okay? You'll note that this is a controlled move. Controlled. It usually stops there, stops there, stops there. It doesn't hit. It may hit a stick as well, but it's controlled. It's not like the next one. Let me show you the next one. The next one is actually a follow-through strike. This is the real strike when we use the Arnis stick in a real fight. Okay? So, it's called follow-through. There's a controlled strike with a break, because you don't want to hurt anyone, or if it blocks not as hard, okay? That's a controlled strike. Okay, and there's a follow-through. In follow-through, we don't regard the angle like we use in a bolo. We don't regard. We actually use the wrist, and we have explained this in the previous videos, okay? We strike it like this with a wrist action, and this one wrist action as well, and this one is wrist action as well, okay? And you will note that this strike is stronger with the follow through. This is how you strike in real fight. Okay? There's a third way to strike it. It's also used in real fight. Okay? So we had a controlled. We call this in our language as pugong, meaning not the hard strike. Pugong. Okay, pugong. The other one is a full swing. Full swing. Okay? We call this tuyok. Tuyok means to circle. Okay? And there's another one. You know, there's a rebound. Bouncing. You may do this. This is strong as well. There is a play in the wrist. Okay? You may do it this way. You may do it this way with wrist motion, like you're cutting in knife cutting. You know? When you use the chopping action using the bolo, it's like this. But you return it. Okay? It bounces back to where it comes from. And this is also strong. This one very common. You use this with bladed weapons, especially the small ones like the knives. It may be called as a jab. Okay? This one they call this untol. Untol because it bounces back. Okay? It bounces. Okay? So the third move is like this. So actually they call this, okay, in our language we call this witik, snapping, but then it shows also a bouncing action. So you may call it witik. Okay? Okay, they call this abanico. It's a move like this, or like this, okay, or like this. See? And I have mentioned to you some videos ago is that when you do the usual witik, don't follow the one that they show on TV, okay? You don't witik it this way because you might injure your small bones in the wrist. Okay, not many. I've seen a lot of YouTube tutorials, and I'm not sure if they understood the move. Okay, the move is actually pronation and supination, and you should not go more than 180 degrees. Okay, the reason why is because you might disalign. There are 8 bones in the wrist, 8 bones that may be disaligned, and it may produce some problems later on. Okay, so the way you do witik or untol, okay, is you loosen up. Okay, the tight grip would be the 3 grips, and you give a play with the thumb and the forefinger. Not very common, but I've seen some doing this. Okay, that's good. Or maybe you can use the, okay, I've taught you about how to do an abanico. Don't do the abanico with straight like this grip. You have to bend it a little bit to be able to protect your wrist bones. Okay, so if you do this with thick, okay, using the abanico style, that's bent. Okay, bent, then it goes there, bent, bent twist, then goes back, then okay. Or you can do this. Okay, and the one we showed a while ago is the one that goes circular. And let's take up later on why do they call this redonda. Okay, and I hope you are going to follow my trivia in trivia, because you will not know what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to say is that let's say give justice to the term Filipino martial arts. Okay, because time and time again it has gone too far, when in fact we use a lot of Spanish word and we seldom use the local terms for Kali. Okay, and Arnis, de mano in itself is not Filipino. De mano means hands, and a lot of them, even the moves, redonda, okay, rompida, okay, and cerrada, okay, doblete. There are several other names in Spanish, too many of them, even more Spanish names than Filipino names. So this is, we are trying to influence a lot of people and influence them about the information regarding Kali. A while ago I was looking at the TV, and again there was a channel that I saw explaining what Kalis is. Kali, again, kamutliho. I don't know where that came from. Cannot be. Okay, Kalis, it's actually, the original is Kalis, K-A-L-I-S, and it refers to a family of knives, of bolos, okay, which includes the kris and the barong and the kampilan and the pinuti. It also includes the pira, and very commonly in the southern part of the Philippines, okay, in Mindanao, Sulu Archipelago, and Tawi-Tawi. And so we know, I am from Mindanao, and that's why I know it. And I learned Kali, not Arnis. I learned Kali, and we were using stick as well, but we were using it as a bolo. Okay, so just to give us more information, Kalis and Arnis are not the same. Kalis is the use of bolo. We use the stick sometimes to train in order not to hurt. Okay, so you have noted the lesson that we have now is called sinawali. Okay, sinawali. In English it means like weaving. Sinawali, it's a pattern of weaving. Okay, parang in Tagalog they call it parang sinawali, but Arnis de Mano calls it redonda. Okay, three moves. Only they made it a circle. Okay, and we understood it that there are three ways to strike. Okay, one is a controlled one. Here, when it breaks, this is not used in a fight. Why do you control when you want to hurt people? Okay, this is used when you have a partner in practice. You do a controlled move. That's what they call controlled. Okay? If you want to hurt, you do a circular motion. That's what they call as redonda, but actually it is sinawali still. See, it is sinawali, and Filipinos prefer to use a Spanish term called redonda. Let me explain redonda later on. Okay, the other one is the rebound or witik. Okay, we use the term witik, okay, or bouncing, because it goes back to where it comes from. And this is cutting. If we use the blade such as a knife, okay, we cannot use it with a big ball. The reason why, because it's heavy, it cannot just rebound back. But with a knife it can. We can even use it as a jab, just like a jab. Okay, and when we get to knife, when we get to knives, then I'll show you how it's going to be used. Okay, so that's sinawali, folks, and we've taken up the relationship of the kuros, okay, this is kuros, and we added one move and it becomes a sinawali. That's sinawali. Okay, they call it redonda, and let me explain to you later why redonda. Okay, so the kuros actually is also a redonda. Okay, kuros, it's a kind of redonda because we encircle the strike. For today, once again, friends, ladies and gentlemen, let's take up some trivial issues. Okay, we have started the last time, if you remember, we took up some Spanish words that are used in Cali, and you remember we took up the word doblete. Okay, doblete is not in any way related to Cali, and so if you say doblete is a strike associated with Cali, it's not. Okay, and actually, the word doblete is taken or has been derived from a tactical move in fencing, and obviously this was derived from the Spaniards teaching the Filipinos the art of fencing, and up to now they have used this term in reference to either eskrima, arnis, and kali. Okay, and that's the thing that I want to influence you as well, because kali was never influenced, was never changed in any which way from its original form of kalis. Okay, first let's clarify the word kalis once again. Okay, it's no way coming from kamot lihok. I could not imagine how they coined kalis into kali in terms of kamot lihok. Okay, the Visayan term for hands is kamot, and the Visayan term for movement is lihok. But no, that's not the way it happened. And this is how it happened. Okay, kalis is always kalis. It's a name given to a family of swords or bolos, and the members of this are the Kris, very popular, or the Kampilan, and there are more. Okay, but during the Spanish time, the Philippines was occupied by the Spaniards for 400 years. Okay, from 1521 up to 1898. That's approximately 400 years, and the Spanish, when they speak, they hardly mention the S in the ending. There are several syllables that are not properly pronounced in Spanish, such as calis. In Spaniard, the word calis, when they speak fluently, the S at the end of calis is not recognized. Okay, calis, it's almost silent, but the spelling should include letter S. Okay, and the spelling, they changed it, because during the Spanish time, calis was spelled as callis, pertaining to the same thing. But because we are Filipinos, they changed it into calis. Okay, and that's the original translation, calis. And so when the Spaniards gained territories by their adventures worldwide, then they were able to spread a particular kind of a fighting style called calis. Okay, and that's how it was born. Okay, so anyway, so the thing is, Filipino martial arts does not supposed not to include Spanish-derived names. And that's why Filipinos, we have our own language. We have Filipino words equivalent to these Spanish words. And so I would see why we should be using and retaining Spanish terms for anything that pertains to Kali. Okay. So anyway, let's talk about the redonda. Okay. I told you that I'll explain the word redonda. And one thing that you have to know about Spanish language is that words have genders, right? Like, for example, redonda is a female, while the male variety of redonda is redondo. Okay, how do you make them male or female? It depends on the item that is described. For example, when you say a round table, mesa redonda. Why? Because the mesa ends in a. Mesa is a table. It ends in a, and so we call it mesa redonda. Okay, and when we say, for example, there are things that end in either e or o. Let's try to see. So there are words that ends in o or e are usually male. For example, baso or glass, baso redondo. Okay, so when we say redonda and we pertain to a strike. Okay, so we say that what kind of strike would be a female strike. Say for example, when you strike someone, they call that golpe. Okay, golpe. If I strike you with something like this, that's golpe in Spanish. And when it ends in E, it has to be, when I say golpe, then we say it, actually, the word is, okay, you may use the word redondo, golpe redondo, or golpe circulado, circle. So when we say redonda, I don't know what term they use. Cuchillo is a knife. Cuchillo, movimiento, okay, the movement, movimiento, and you say redonda, that's wrong. Movement which is rounded, movimiento redonda, that's wrong. And so I'm really confused as to how it came into being, and the likelihood is that there was a wrong usage of it, as the term has passed from generation to generation. Okay, there are other Spanish terms. Say for example, there are several groups, Kali groups, that use the word cerrada and abierta. Okay, there are groups that say close quarter combat is combat. Okay, again, close quarter combat, meaning to say a combat within a close room. Okay, so when you are in close combat, it means that you are close to one another. Okay, closeness in the sense is called cerca. But anyway, maybe they use the word cerrada. Okay, they say cerrada when you are closely, when you are fighting close, you have a partner and you are fighting closely. They call that cerrada. But wait a minute, when we say close quarters, oh, that's combate. Okay, combate meaning fighting. Combate cerrado. Okay, or when you say cuarto, cerrado, not cerrada. Okay, I don't know how it came into being. Probably, I'm not blaming anyone, but it has been passed to generation. We could not pinpoint how it came into being. But then it's better to use Filipino terms so that we may retain the Filipino culture of it. Okay, cerrada. We have, okay, there are groups on YouTube, a lot of them, very popular now. I don't know why. Arnis, Scream Kali, they take it as one whole thing. It's the same all throughout. I don't know. But I'm so glad because I saw some groups that really hold on to Kalis. There are even groups that hold the name Kalis. And I'm glad about that. And there are groups that mention that it's Kali. Okay. Unfortunately, they do the Arnis as well, and then they call it Kali. And that's wrong. Okay, now anyway. When you fight in close quarters, combate, cerrado, cannot use the word cerrada in Spanish. And so it must not have been used that way. Now, there are groups as well who say a stance, postura, okay, postura, posture, guardia, or maybe guard, guardia, okay. When you say close guard, there are two, that's open and that's close. It's open and close. And so guard, guardia, or maybe postura, okay, postura cerrada, that's okay. Postura abierta, that's okay. The word cerrada has been used correctly. And there are several others, there are so many things. There are so many usage of Spanish terms which instead of using Filipino terms for it, unfortunately they combine it and call it Filipino martial arts. I don't blame anyone. It has been passed to generation and generations, and since the time of the Spaniards, 1898, they handed it over to the Americans. The Americans colonized the Philippines for 50 years, and it has been a lot of language changes has taken place. Okay, there's another one. The word sombrada. Okay, it's taken from the word sombra, meaning shadow or shade. And there are those who say sombrada is when you fight. And there are those who say that this is a block, they call sombrada. Shade. Okay, so, friends, I'm not blaming anyone, but there are terms that are used inappropriately, I think. Okay, that's my opinion. Please don't criticize me for saying my own opinion. I practiced Kali before. I was trained. Kali that comes from Negros, okay? I'll not mention anyone, not to lift up any other name. They might not accept me as one of them, okay? But anyway, I learned Kali from my brother who learned Kali from Negros, okay? And so I do not belong to any grandmaster pupils or student. The reason why I get to Kali because when I retired, okay? When I retired as a physician. I was practicing for 40 years. And then I retired 1.5 years ago, and I started doing this. Okay, and I guess that if I could entice a lot more people who are seniors or maybe those who are restricted because of some cardiovascular problems. What I've discovered is that Kali, Skrima, and Arnis is so popular, more popular than even karate, judo, or aikido now. It's taking the world by a rush. I mean, all the internet are filled with Kali, and I'm happy about it. But the word Filipino martial arts is not really Filipino martial arts as it is being used today. Because in reality, it is Kali that still holds into tradition, but Arnis de Mano, which is the traditional Arnis, and the modern Arnis, I really appreciate modern Arnis because it has brought in the techniques relevant to our current or to the present situation. So the only thing that I can say about modern Arnis is that they should limit the use of Spanish terms. I'm not saying stop it all the while, but there are terms which are misused. They have to eliminate that and change it into Filipino terms. So we will be taking up more and more of these terms as we go on, okay? Because there are really terms that have been misused, Spanish terms that they have thought it to be Filipino. Okay, so we have the lesson is sinawali, okay? Sinawali is good enough. And why do you include redonda as well? Redonda could be anything that has a circular motion, okay? In fact, redonda is actually not very popularly used because it's actually, if you take a look, it is circulada, circle. Round is a sphere. Circle is a shape, okay? Circle with a circumference. Redondo means round. It means round, a sphere with depth and diameter and mass, okay? So anyway, when you say sinawali, I think that would be good enough, okay? That's sinawali with a single stick. Okay, so abierta, cerrada, because we're talking about postura, okay, posture, guardia. When we say cuarto, okay, cuarto cerrado, close quarters. Okay, I mentioned another one, sombrada. Sombrada is taken from the word sombra, meaning shade or shadow. The original term for shadow fighting, actually, shadow fighting is when you do some fighting moves and it's repeated by a partner called shadow. So when they call it shadow, sombrada, it means that you have a partner and you are shadow fighting. Your partner repeats the same move as you are doing, and that's a drill. Nothing is said about sombrada. That's black. Okay. They say it's payong. Okay, anyway. So much for that, friends. Thank you very much for listening. I hope my topic gets the interest in you to know more about Kali. Kali is the Filipino martial arts, okay? Or modern Arnis is as well. Unfortunately, they are taking more Spanish terms than Filipino terms, and that's the only thing that I really don't like, okay? And Arnis de Mano is left. It is tradition. It is one that was created by Spaniards for Filipinos long time ago to learn the art of fencing using stick. And so if you take a look at the history, you will find a book, an old book called Stick Fencing, originated from the Philippines. When? During the Spanish regime. So much for that, friends. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Please subscribe. Share this video so that we can spread more truthful information. And thank you. We will be getting into more of this sinawali, and I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of our videos as well. Thank you.